All right, hello and welcome back to another 5K tennis discussion. Today is the 1st of February, 2020, and we are here to jump right into the tennis talk, tennis news, and the smack talk that we like to do so much right here. You ready, Carla?
I'm ready.
Let's get down. We had a little Mardi Gras parade here on our lovely island that we live on. I'm not a big Mardi Gras person. We've been working since 4:30 this morning.
And now am I, but my kids brought a whole bunch of stuff, so I wore this to represent Sofia Kenin's win. USA, right?
And I'm busting out the glasses. All right? All right, let's jump right into it. We got a lot to talk about. With only one match, we still have a lot to talk about. All right?
Okay.
So how I want to start off this show today is actually with a viewer comment and one response to that comment, and then talk about what the comment is about in the first place and whether we like it or whether we do not. All right, you ready, Carla?
Yep.
All right, so let me grab the comment. All right, so this comment, by the way, is from Gene Swart, and he's in South Africa, a really good tennis mind, always involved in the game, has a lot of good things to say, and he sent me this message last night. So check this out. He put, "Oh my God, the ATP and WTA have decided to put a challenge system on clay. As well, by the way, this is not fake news. I looked at articles about these news." Surely he means this. "I looked at articles about this news. Well, it's about time they do it. I have seen many clay court matches who had bad line calls and umpire who made wrong decisions, like, for example, the Pliskova-Sakari match in Rome in 2018. Pliskova got very mad, by the way." He put a smiley face because you always say she has no emotion. She had it on this day. We looked at it. Next sentence. "I think it's a good decision by both tours because it's so unfair sometimes to see players lose matches on clay just because of bad line calls and bad decisions from the umpire. Tell me your thoughts on this." So we're going to do that, but I wanted to read a response by a gentleman, Tennis Sir, and we speak a lot as well. Another really good tennis mind that always has really good input. And his response was something like this. I'll read it verbatim. "There's a potential problem with HawkEye on clay courts, I've read, because the clay surface has a deepness, quote-unquote, to it, so the HawkEye doesn't always jive up with the marks made by the ball. Maybe in the future, the French Open, when HawkEye gets more advanced for clay, will add it." All right, so that's it for that. So first off, when Gene sent me this, I told him I would do some research on it, and we would put something together, and that we did. And I don't want to spend too terribly much time on it because I would like everyone to kind of give your thoughts about this once we finish with some of this information and comments, and then we'll move forward, right?
Right.
All right, so first of all, what is HawkEye? Maybe people don't know what HawkEye is. HawkEye is a system of roughly 12 computers that are stationed alongside or around courts. That involve computers that simulate the trajectory of the ball. Okay, understood? Pretty straightforward. We've all seen it before. Now, the problem with HawkEye, and this is from the manufacturer, okay? So this isn't my margin of error. This is the company that is telling the world that they have a margin of error in their computer animation of the ball trajectory. So the company that is HawkEye, which is a British company, by the way, indicates that they have an average margin of error of 3.66 millimeters. Okay. Now, first and foremost, we might not think that's a lot, but how many times over the years do we see HawkEye and we see a ball that's in and it's just by the hair, just a little smidgen of the shadow of the HawkEye is on the line. So if it's a 3.66 margin of error, there is still a very good chance, well, not very good, but there is still a slim chance, I guess you could say, of the call still being wrong, right?
Definitely. It makes you question a lot of calls that were so important in matches, right?
Yeah, I mean, the ones that are aces
so
up the team.
And that could have won you a game, but it was called out.
So the next question is why isn't it used on clay? I'm going to start out with reason number one. And number one is tradition. Now, this is from my standpoint as well as the directors of the French Open. Okay, so this is a French Open take on why isn't it used there, as Tennis Sir indicated. Maybe if it was better, they would use it there. So the first reason, now this is from an article I read from the French Open executives or directors, that they're traditional. Now, they are still the only major that does not have a tiebreaker in the 5th set, right? So they're traditionalists. They don't have a roof, they don't have lights, and they play on the dirt ball, right? It's a dirt ball surface, right? So tradition's important. Now let's change gears real quick and look at Major League Baseball. You're not a big baseball fan. I'm a huge San Francisco Giants fan. Again, I'm born in San Francisco, so all the San Francisco teams, less the Warriors. I'm a Lakers fan.
I used to be a baseball fan.
But the tradition is something that goes with the same line in Major League Baseball. How many World Series or important games in baseball, or every single day, do we see where the special umpire that's trained really hard to be behind that plate is calling balls and strikes, and the ball clips the outside corner, and it's a ball, or the ball's right in the strike zone and it's a ball, or it's outside the strike zone and it's a strike, and the batter gets in the umpire's face and the coach comes out and yells and they bump bellies. What are you talking about? Are you blind as a bat? That type thing. And I think we see the players do the same thing to the refs in tennis, right? So why doesn't Major League Baseball use the system that they already have? Now, if you watch baseball, you see that when a pitcher throws it, they can slow it down and actually follow the ball right into a predetermined strike zone box that is commensurate with the batter's size. If the batter's tall, the strike zone will be higher and lower if you're shorter, etc. But they already have and have had the technology to call balls and strikes for many of years. But Major League Baseball holds onto tradition, and I think that's important to a certain degree. And there's a lot more money, by the way, as a whole, per capita in MLB than there is in tennis, by far. I mean, some of these athletes get $200 million contracts, and it happens quite often. I mean, look at Bryce Harper, and, geez, the list goes on. Anyway, so tradition is number one. Number two, why isn't it used on clay? I did not find any information that tennisser indicated about the depth of the clay. So tennisser out there, much love, you have great stuff, but I wasn't able, and I looked for a while, I was not able to find this quote-unquote depth of the clay. Not saying it's not fair, I just didn't see it, but I'd love to read that. So they have a 3.66 margin of error on clay, and I guess the French Open is not willing to risk it on that. However, they do state at clay tournaments, not just the French, that why do we need it? The referees can see it. Okay, well, hold on a second. Gene Swartz just mentioned about the Pliskova-Sakari match, which, if I remember correctly, Pliskova had a sitter overhead. She hit the overhead. It was clearly in. The umpire called it out, and she lost her mind over it, right? Which is rare for Pliskova. There was a couple other matches, though, as well, that are big ones. Robin Soderling versus Nadal. That was another one. There was a ball that Nadal hit out, supposedly. Robin Soderling got his racket on clay. If the ball's right there, you'll see the player put the racket on the ground and circle the mark. Now, for years, Carlo and I have always said, I wonder why they allow the tennis player to circle the mark. I mean, isn't that kind of tampering with evidence in a way? I mean, if you go to a crime scene, are you allowed to
this is where I killed him.
Yeah,
right here. Not here. I killed him here.
Right here. Drag marks and all. I killed him right here.
I didn't step here.
Yeah.
I didn't step here. I stepped here.
Exactly. So he circled the wrong mark. The referee came over, and this is Soderling, and said, well, that's the wrong mark. He couldn't find the regular mark. So if you can always see him and you can't find the regular mark, well, in this case, he couldn't. And the point was awarded to Nadal. But I think on the replay, if I remember correctly, Nadal's ball was out. But it was called good because Soderling circled the wrong field and they couldn't find the original one. Another match, Nicolas Basilashvili and Martin Fucsovic.
How can you do that to my Iron Man?
Well, Basilashvili, if I remember correctly, had served a double fault.
I remember that.
And he served a double fault. They couldn't find the mark to it. The umpire called it good, and Fucsovic lost the match. Basilashvili won the match. Not saying he wouldn't have won it anyway, but he lost it, Fucsovic, on a bad line call. So it does happen. So, by the way, the technology that they're trying to put together, it has, well, I guess we've said that they're going to try on clay. It's not a very, I guess you could say, new technology. Currently, 20 to 30 tournaments right now, not clay at this point, use this technology that Gene Swartz is mentioning for clay. It's not called HawkEye, though. It's called Fox 10, F-O-X-T-E-N-N, Fox 10.
We've seen this. It looks very, I like this one better.
Yeah, so I didn't put the two and two together of what it was until I did the research. But Fox 10 has been on the scene for at least a year or two, I think. And you've probably seen it and just don't know it. You'll see these tournaments, and you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen like a box, and it'll show the ball in slow motion in real time actually hit the line. So
I think that's better.
Yeah, so it's not a simulation. It's not a computer simulation taking in consideration speed, trajectory, physics, etc., giving you a margin of error. It's real-time ball hitting the line, slow down so you can watch it. It's real-time. The company Fox 10 indicates it has a 0 margin of error.
So why wouldn't they use that and replace
HawkEye? They are. Well, I don't know about that. Now, let me tell you.
Do you think it's maybe because it's a certain company putting a bid in or something like that?
I think that has a lot to do with it. But let's compare the two companies. Fox 10, Foxtenn, is a startup company from Spain. Okay. HawkEye is a British company that's been around for a while. So now you have two competitors. For this.
That's good.
Competition is good, right?
Yeah.
So the Fox 10 setup has roughly 40 cameras around the court, backed by lasers and scanners that will catch the ball as it hits the ground, resulting in a 0, supposedly, margin of error. Supposedly, it's cheaper to install. It's lighter to maneuver the cameras around and move them. Let's see, there was something else here. Lighter to install, easier to install, and 0 margin of error, right? So they're testing this on clay at the Volvo Car Open in Charleston, South Carolina, on clay this year. So not only are we going to have the WTA testing a system called Fox 10, not HawkEye, on clay, they are going to be testing out unlimited coaching from the sidelines or from the box, as well as retaining one coaching timeout to still come down to the court and talk to the player. Right?
Too bad I'm not 10 again, so I could become pro.
Yeah, so think about that. We're gonna watch it. I'm a proponent of the Fox 10 technology.
I think we need it on clay. The reason why is because there's so many spots on clay. Every time you hit a ball, there's a mark. So eventually, the balls. One ball is probably going to hit half a mark. So how would we know which one is true? What about if the umpire wasn't paying attention? What about the linesman thought he saw it a certain way, but he was at a different angle? So I think it's important to have this, especially in clay. I would think that they would have done this first there. There's so many ball marks everywhere. How do you know which one's right?
Yeah.
That's why I don't like playing on clay. I just don't enjoy it.
Well, the only reason why
I don't like it. It's all the spots. It's like you have to clean the court, and for the second set, or I don't know how often they clean it. I think several times, don't they?
Well, me as a junior all the way up through college, no one cleaned our courts. We just played the match on the court. Yeah. Other people's footprints and ball bounces and sliding marks. We'd get the little roller with the metal spikes and dust the lines off. We'd roll the lines.
It's just, I worked at a country club. I remember I would have to clean them after every lesson. So.
Well, at the club we coached at in Montgomery, I would get the golf cart and put the big...
That's what I did too.
And I would put the drag sheet behind it, and I would just roll down the aisle of courts back and forth, and they'd be beautiful. But after there's a match or a clinic or a lesson on each one of them, they're just back to where they started.
Yeah.
So your thoughts on that? Your thoughts on the Fox 10 idea on clay, and you can back that up too with your thoughts on unlimited coaching from the box, as well as the women being allowed to have coaching on their actual sideline on the court once per set.
I think that Dominic Thiem needs to wear this tomorrow to have a chance to beat Djokovic.
Highlight his silver thread.
He needs to.
All right, moving forward. Thank you, Gene, for that. Comments on that below. Are you in favor of this, or are you a more traditionalist? In Major League Baseball, I would stick with tradition, only because the game has been around. Tennis has been around that long, too.
Well, because you would take somebody's job away. That's why.
Well, you could hypothetically take the linesman's judge away, too, though.
All right.
You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So there is a traditionalist and there is a human being behind these things that cost people jobs. At the same time, there are players, baseball, tennis, whatever, that lose tens of millions of dollars by a bad line call. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Slams.
So we're going to move right into the Sofia Kenin and Garbine Muguruza match. And we're going to jump right into this. So the first thing I did want to talk about real quickly is Chris Evert once again. Chris Evert again, for me as a young boy, my sister and father, we would watch hundreds of Chris Evert's match, and I respect Chris Evert a ton as a player. Just a really, really good, solid player. Obviously, has the Grand Slams to back it up. But can I just tell you that her commentary, once again, is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, she's one of my least favorite commentators. I think every time she just kisses a lot of butt to whichever player she's close to.
It's exactly right.
Anybody she's close to, oh, Serena. But if she doesn't know you,
you're done.
You're done.
So you've met this lady, and I think it's been a while.
Several times.
But when you're around her in her presence, been in the presence, I haven't had a discussion with her, but there's just ambience of snootiness stuck up.
I'm too good.
Too good for everybody.
Too good for you.
And I think as a commentator, you want to try to gel with your audience, right?
I could see when I look at Martina Navratilova, I feel like I can go up to her and talk to her. Davenport, I have talked to her when I was a junior.
Chandra Rubin.
I've talked to her several times. My best friend and we bugged them several times to get their autographs, and we had to do the whole Reebok thing. We would talk to them. Very down to earth.
That's where you met with Serena and Venus with the Reebok
correct.
Camp. Yeah.
But it's like Chris Evert, just snooty. I've seen people ask her for autographs, just snooty. The way she talks about certain players. Like she knows what they're thinking in their head. We don't know what they're thinking in their head. We're assuming, right? We're assuming.
Yeah, so the reason why I wrote this is she made a statement as the match was about to start, and I'm quoting. She quoted that this was the lowest ranked final between two players in Open era history. Okay, you follow me? Kenin was what? To 12 seed or something like that, and Muguruza was unseeded. Mm-hmm. And she said, let me finish the quote. This is the lowest ranked final between two players in Open era history, and that in itself showed the depth of the women's game.
No.
Carla, do you agree or disagree with that?
I completely disagree with that. No.
Why? Why do you disagree?
Well, first of all, it doesn't show the depth of women's tennis.
The lack thereof.
It's just the lack of. The reason why we will never have a Roger Federer, a Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal on the women's side is because mentally, some of these girls that are number one just crash. They disappear. It's like a roller coaster with all these women. Here I tell them Sofia Kenin won a slam. Now that makes Andreescu look like, okay, that slam was no big deal. A Barty slam is no big deal.
Yeah, I think
because Sofia Kenin got one. That means that anybody's going to get one now. It's a dice. Let's roll the dice. Who's going to win the French Open? Let's roll the dice.
That's a great question.
Let's roll that dice because, these women are... Osaka's almost... Her slams look like they're going to be nothing. She's a 2. The only one that looks great there is, to me, Serena. Nobody's going to touch her number. Sofia Kenin, great for her. I'm happy for her. She was the better player. She beat a lot of good players. I'm not saying she didn't deserve to win the slam, but what I'm saying is that everybody was talking about Andreescu. Oh, she's the next thing, blah, blah, blah. She won the U.S. Open. Well, now we got Sofia Kenin who won the Australian Open.
It's the next big thing.
Is she the next big thing? No, she's not.
It's the next big thing.
Can't say that.
For me, commentary should draw yourself to feel one with the person doing it. I'm awful at it, obviously. However, there are some great ones out there on the tennis kind of circuit. Even though Chris Fowler, ESPN guy, he does a really good job. Bethany Maddox-Sands does a really good job.
She's like one of the best ones.
Chandra Rubin does a really good job.
Yeah.
Brad Gilbert does a good job. Sometimes a little on the cheesy side. I don't like cheesy, but nonetheless, he does a good, fun job.
I think Jim Courier's good, even though people are harsh on him. He tells it how it is.
Yeah. The comment that Chris Evert made about the depth of the game, this shows the depth of the game, I totally agree with Carla, and I totally disagree with Chris Evert. It shows the lack thereof. There is no big 3 or big 5 or big 2.
There's no one dominated.
We had what, Steffi Graf, Chris
She dominated.
Dominated.
Celis dominated. So her injury.
Look at Hingis until whatever.
She dominated. Then came the Williams sisters.
Williams dominated. And now you just have these hit or miss, type.
No one would have guessed that Kenin was going to win this. Muguruza, she had been there before, so for her saying the depth of tennis, no, she was a champion before. Yeah. 2-time champion, so she should be there.
Totally disagree with that one. All right, into the match, but comments on that below. And a lot of times, though, in international countries, and I think like 10% of our viewers are Serbian, another 10, I think, are in Great Britain, another 10 are in Australia. I listen to a lot of commentary on different platforms and watch the match. I will turn the volume down and turn the volume up, whether it's Australian radio or whether it's something I can pick up on the phone, you know, live streaming from a commentator there with the indigenous accent and everything, because they do a better job. I was listening to, who was the girl the other night? Was it Hantukova? Hantukova was calling a match for the Australian Open, but in a different country, and we were able to pick up her radio calls, and Hantukova was a beast. She did a really good job. So I turned on this match. The first thing I heard was Chris Evert, and I'm like, geez, I already want to turn this down. She has no idea what she's talking about. She's just being stuck up. Sorry. But then, as soon as the first set starts, I hear, So I wrote here, holy squealing screech fest Batman. I mean, it's just, I can't, you guys know, you watch the show, and you know I gripe and rant and all that stuff. But I can't stand screeching. Again, born into the game, raised into the game. When I was a kid, the sound that these girls make sometimes, and some of the guys, it would be unheard of, is all I'm saying. Am I being too traditional? No, because I'm for the Fox 10 stuff on clay. So, being someone that bleeds this game, is passionate about it, I coach it, I was raised in it, string rackets, and da-da-da, and Carla, the exact same. I have never been around squealing like this until maybe Monica Seles.
Right.
Something like, I think
Monica Seles started it all, yeah.
So, anyway.
And she had more of a reason, if you think about it. 2 hands on both sides. That does take a lot of energy.
Yeah, and then the second thing, and this was at 3-2 in the first set. I had already watched Sofia Kenin throw her hands up, you know, looking at the ball boys or the towel, I think, and just throwing her hands up and
dropping her
racket and kicking it across the court. I mean, so look, I'm not. So what I had written here a lot worse than I wanted, than I'm going to say now, because B-Dog out there, what's up, B-Dog02, put me in my place personally. I wrote here. I'll write what I wrote. Okay, I'll write it, and I'll stand corrected because B-Dog is correct. I wrote here, I'm not saying I dislike her, but no one wants to hang around with a little bitchy kid. Okay? I wrote that, and then I'm telling B-Dog about it, and he's like, well, I know someone that does that. You know, I rant a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think she's, I don't think she's bitchy. I think the problem is that her dad, when a father and daughter, or father and son, when you are their coach, you sometimes let a lot of things slide, okay? Because I let my kids slide with quite a few things. You mentioned this a lot, you know. And they get used to doing that. So I think that she probably did that as a junior and has brought it into her pro career. You know, it's probably something she did as a junior. And it's not that she's beat. That's just the way she is. And maybe that's the way she functions. And that's the way that helps her get through it. Just like some Coco Gauff has to say, come on, every point, you know?
Okay, well, that's kind of oxymoron or a juxtaposition here, because you're saying that it helps her, but you just use the metaphor about your kids do it. So you're telling me that, let's say our oldest son...
shouldn't be allowed.
Okay.
No, I'm saying
but you're saying it helps her. So wait a minute, freeze that thought.
It hasn't helped my kids.
We've said this a lot. We have 5 kids, and our oldest is basically very close to her age. Okay? Yeah. I will tell you this, and this is fact. I have seen my oldest son get upset on the court. Matter of fact, I'll tell you what he did one day. He was playing this kid. This kid beats him every time that they play, and Jonathan's the better player.
He's a way better player.
But he just gets inside of his head, and Jonathan misses targets and whatever. Jonathan was at a match, and he knew he would win this one, right? He found himself down big, and the kid was like, hey, I need that ball over there. So Jonathan goes and gets the ball, picks it up, and slams it at him, like tries to drill him with the ball. It was an absolutely big time.
And I did tell him something. I mean,
look, I'll leave it PG, but I dealt with it in the car. However, the kid that he plays is a really good kid, a really good, well-mannered kid. So the kid finishes the match, and Jonathan stomped off the court pouting. So I go over to the kid, but the kid was already on his way to me because he knows we coach and he knows we're involved, and I've spoken to the young man before. So he's walking to me, and I'm going to him. I'm going to apologize to him on behalf of my son, right? At the same time, he's coming to me, and you know what he says? I said, man, I'm sorry. I don't know why he does that. You get in his head. And he was like, yeah, I know that. However, you need to tell him to chill out because no one's going to want to hang out with him in the locker room.
Very true.
His quote.
It's a fact, and I'm sure
and this at that time. See, Jonathan's 18, so he's
not 18, 17.
He'll be 18 in May.
This was last year.
That's what. Yeah, he was 16 then.
Yeah, well, he's right about that. You know, you get a reputation in the locker room, just like Sharapova has a reputation of nobody talking to her because she's standoffish.
She used to not talk to anybody.
Well, she's standoffish, so nobody talks to her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think wasn't it Halep in an interview at one point in time? She was like, "Are you going to talk to Sharapova about something?" She was like, "She never talked to me in 10 years. Why would I talk to her now?"
Exactly.
But
I mean, I'm not looking at her. I think you used the wrong word completely.
Well, B-Dog corrected that, and I got nothing but love for him. Though he keeps me in check.
She's still a kid in a way. 21. You know, she's been with her dad. Probably all she knows how to do is play tennis. You know, and I don't know.
So we're gonna. I
give her a pass.
We're gonna look. I stand corrected. B-Dog rectified that. However, I will say one thing. If any of you watched a match last night, at least up until about 3-2, where I had to turn the volume down because of Everett's commentary mixed with the grunting, as well as watching the racket getting kicked across the court.
Well, she got broken.
Okay.
Muguruza was up 4-2 after that.
If any of you saw the match out there, which I'm sure we all did if you're watching this, and if any of you tell me that you disagree completely, that she acts a little bratty. I won't say the bitchy word because I was aggravated. I was didn't stay up, but we fit this match in and we had a million things to do. Recorded some of it, watched some of it. So that match was our day in a way. And I had to watch someone kick the racket across the court, grunt super loud, Chris Everett talking about some just BS. So I was flustered and I wrote that. B-Dog corrected it. But if anyone can tell me that you didn't notice any type of bratty behavior, then you either have no manners, no kids, and no respect for others.
I laugh when she wins the game, right? And she bounces the ball.
Yeah. She wins the game.
She goes like this. Bam. She walks to her there.
I mean, come on.
I'm like, what is that? I'm like,
if Kyrgios acted like this, all of you would be like, see this bum, da-da-da-da. So I'm curious to see what my feedback is here, because if anyone disagrees with me that this girl doesn't need to stop being a little on the bitchy side, then you're wrong.
All right, let's go on to the match. It was three sets, 4-6, 6-2, 6-2. Kenin had 2 aces compared to Muguruza's 9 aces, but this is what killed Muguruza. First of all, I thought she was overhitting a lot. I think in her head she said, I'm supposed to win this. And she was trying to overpower Kenin. Whereas Kenin, I didn't see a lot of pace in her. And I've read a lot of viewers' comments, not in this channel, but in other channels where they thought that, you know, she really doesn't have a lot of weapons. And I have to agree with them. I don't think she has a lot of weapons. I think B-Dog says she's like Wozniacki. She's a better version of Wozniacki because she has a little more power and she can, you know, kind of hit better angles than her. But she didn't overpower Muguruza. Muguruza she just overplayed the points. She had 8 double faults, Muguruza, whereas Kenin had no double faults, which is
that's a big time
very good.
That's giving 2 games away.
Very good.
8 double faults to 0, you've given 8 points away. That's 2 games if they were at love.
That's great. 57% first serve on Muguruza, where Kenin had 74%. Muguruza had 2 out of 12, only converted 2 out of 12 break points, which is a shame.
Now, in the second set, we know that Muguruza took the first one, broke early, hung on to it, and took the first set 6-4. In the second set, if you look at just the first serve percentage and
she got broken back in the first set too.
Yeah, well,
but then won.
She held the break to win at 6-4, hence the score. Mm-hmm. But in the second set, Muguruza's serving percentage was down around 30%.
Yeah,
it got really low there.
She was going for serves. That's what's telling. I think she wanted probably to just win quick points.
Well, she needed that was her game plan, and it should be. When she gets the ball in the middle of that court, green light, she goes for it.
Kenin had 5 out of 6 break points, which is very good. 5 out of 6.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, 92 points won by Kenin and 72 by Muguruza. This time the stats don't lie here; they tell it all. What else? I don't know what else to say. I'm glad that she won. She was happy. I mean, she thanked her box. She thanked her dad. Thanked her mom that was watching her from the U.S. Muguruza was serious as always, with the Spanish serious face.
Conchita Martinez was up there.
Do I think that Kenin will win another Grand Slam this year? No, I don't. I don't. I think that
there's better players out there.
We might as well all play the lotto, and maybe we'll have a better chance at that than picking our women's final.
Well, we could say what Chris Everett said. This just shows the depth of the game.
Do I think
Muguruza
will win a Grand Slam this year? Probably not. I thought this was her chance.
Look, a B-Dog said it right in a personal message with me. She has choked a lot in the past year or two. She gained some form back now, though. I do think we'll see more from Muguruza.
I think some of you guys were upset that you said you wouldn't watch any WTA matches because the women's are so unpredictable, but I wouldn't give up on that.
Oh.
I mean, a lot of guys said that, you know.
Yeah, we after the match yesterday, this was some of the messages started coming to us, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, I don't know if it's Twitter for you. I don't look at that.
Twitter, yeah.
But saying, Carla, you guys were right. The women's, or you were, because I never really mentioned the unpredictability too much of the women's game. I was thinking Barty was going to get better, and Osaka
I said
was
before
gonna be,
Kenin won, I said if she wins, anybody can win. That's what I said.
Yeah, I think I indicated earlier this year. I thought this year would be the year of Barty and Osaka. I think so. I mean, I was wrong there. Maybe not. It's still young, but yes, a lot of messages came in that said, Carla, you were correct. That women's tennis is so unpredictable. There's a lack of dominant players, and I really don't care to watch it.
That's sad. Keep watching it. I mean,
we'll watch it.
We'll definitely keep watching. Kenin's story is a great story, but it's not the only. That's not the only story I've heard. A sad story. There are many players out there that come here with the big American dream. Or big dream to be an American a tennis player with zero money, and they failed to do it because they didn't get that lucky.
Do you know someone else that has the same kind of story?
Sharapova.
Frances Tiafoe.
Sharapova.
And we've talked about all of these stories. So if you're new to the channel, someone sent us a message earlier today. I forget what the name was about Kenin's story.
Yes.
And we talked on one show like 10 minutes about it. We did the research on it. You know, a wonderful story. So kudos to the father, kudos to the mother that was probably too nervous to come watch.
It was Alex Couillard.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, Kenin's parents went through a lot coming to the U.S. with barely money with them, and wanting her a chance only to have a tennis life was remarkable. Yeah, there's a lot of players like that, a lot. Yeah. And I did like what she said, you know, she said, I dreamt of this when I was a child. It can happen for you. Dreams can happen for you, she said.
Yeah, and we've talked about she was, you know, a so-called prodigy since the age of 5. And Carla was like, you know, how are you a prodigy at the age of 5? And let me tell you how you're a prodigy at the age of 5. Let's say, let's look at our own kids. You know, some of our kids are born, or your kids are born, or you meet people when they're popped into this universe, and they come out on the table, and here they are in this wide open world that they're tabula rasa, a psychology term for blank slate. They've got nothing in the brain. They're absorbing all this input and information, and none of it is old to them. It's all new. Everything they learn, they're soaking it in like a random access memory in a computer, right? They're soaking it up. Some kids are special in a way that they can pick up something and just do it. And I say that because I
see that on my youngest one. I see that a lot.
Well,
there's 2 of them, but there's one that's even more noticeable than the other one.
Yeah, so our we have 3 boys, 2 girls. So our middle boy, he has this knack with musical instruments and schoolwork. I mean, he's like number 2 in his entire school, and he's a sophomore in terms of academics and all superior classes, and he really doesn't put much into it.
He's been like that since he was little.
And
I knew that. I knew he was smart. I was like, wow.
And he can pick up a musical instrument, clarinet, guitar, piano. Like we have a keyboard, and we had that brought up here. He never even played it. He's playing songs by the end of the day, like out of his head, and not even with the music. So we have Liliana, who could be, in my opinion, a player equally as good as Kenin, but she doesn't get as much practicing time as necessary.
She will, though.
Anyway,
she will. Her time's coming.
So we do have to train the kids in a little while. So great stories from a lot of people on tour. Sharapova, I didn't know that about Sharapova.
Sharapova, same thing. Her dad came with a big dream. She was like 9, 8 years old, had no money, struggling. They lived in one apartment, and boom, 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 and met volunteer, and it happened for her.
I think
same with Kornikova.
Yeah, I think Tiafoe's dad was Jamaican. I think something like that. You might want to look it
Jamaican,
up.
No.
From somewhere, and I forget. I should know that, but moved and was working at a club. And because he worked there, he was able to get him lessons, and so there's a lot of.
Well, the coach took him in and said, "I will teach her."
Yeah, I mean, beautiful thing. All right, so I'm going to end this show by squeezing in a little tidbit.
His dad worked as a maintenance guy.
Where's he from?
His father immigrated to the United States. Blah blah blah. Home country. I'm sorry.
Anyway, don't worry about it. We got to train the kids. All right, so I'm going to squeeze the fantasy team update here at the end because it's really short. So if you're watching this, currently there is 1 place taken on the winner's box. That's
Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone. Okay, good. Africa. So JMP 1966. If you're out there, you have won first place for the fantasy team giveaway. So please give us a message. If you want to email us personally, it's 5ktennis@mail.com. Let us know if you want a YTech shirt, a 5K tennis shirt, 2 sets of strings, or if you want the $20, we'll send it to you, PayPal, Venmo, whatever. Second place is right now a toss-up between 3 people. Stefan Nizovic, Dusan Dramacanin, and Bartek Platek. Stefan and Bartek are tied at 63 points, but their teams are completed. Okay, they can't get any more points. They're stuck at 63. Dusan Dramacanin had Kenin, wonderful pick there, and has 62 points. Now, if Djokovic wins, he will have 63 points. Well, what do you do when there's a 3-way tie at 63 points? Who had the most people in the final? Stefan and Bartek had 0 in the final. And Dusan Dramacanin may end up with Kenin, who won it, and he may have Djokovic, who wins it as well. Now, if Djokovic were to lose, we have a 3-way tie, or a 2-way tie, between Stefan Nizovic and Bartek Platek. Bartek Platek had Muguruza in his final. And did Stefan Nizovic have did Stefan Nizovic have... no, he did not. So Bartek would win second place if Djokovic loses. Dusan Dramacanin will win second place if Djokovic wins. And Stefan Nizovic, I told you it was a gamble about taking all 2-point players except for Osaka and Barty, I think it was. Or you had Barty and Williams. Someone will catch you if you don't run away with it early. So anyway, JMP, let us know what's up. And then Bartek and Dusan and Stefan, stay tuned because your spot's coming. All right? Much love. Adios. Off to train the 5 kids. And I'm going to try to hit some balls today.
Bye-bye.
Right? Let's go.
Who will win? Djokovic or Thiem?
Yeah, who wins? Djokovic, Thiem. Leave it in comments. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Adios.